Welcome to the Legacy Leaders Podcast. Are you doing the best for your client to help them create their legacy? Are you creating a plan that goes far beyond finances to help people ensure that it becomes the driving force behind all decisions? On this podcast, hosts Katie Beth Hand and Stan Miller will help you with growing your practice and your client's peace of mind. Together, they bring the best and brightest minds to share with you how to help your clients develop their best legacy. And now, here are your hosts, Katie Beth and Stan.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Legacy Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Chuck Gore, and with us today is Karen Hennecy. Karen, welcome.
It's great to be here. Thank
you. Thanks for being on. So why law school?
You know, I got an art degree undergrad, which I thought was fantastic. And I worked after college for several years in the art world and decided that it was not for me and really just needed something more challenging and something maybe a little more financially secure. And I had always considered law school, so I just took the plunge and jumped in. But I loved school. So, I mean, I could have stayed longer. So I'm one of those.
Well, very good. So why in particular did you want to do estate planning?
I won't say that I wanted to do estate planning. It kind of chose me. My first job out of law school, I was selected to start a pilot program over in Eastern Alabama. The seat of it was in Anniston, and it was a Title III program for older Americans. And basically, I offered free legal services for anybody over 60 years of age in a 13-county region. I did that for a couple of years, which basically just means you're learning about Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid and all of the VA benefits. And so it wasn't really by choice. It was just that's where I ended up, which then kind of translates over to estate planning into just a larger full probate practice.
Well, it sounds like something that that you like doing. Does it? Tell me what it means to you to help.
I do love doing it. As soon as I realized that that's where I was going to be, I didn't stay there long. I went into private practice after that. I realized that it was perfect for me. I didn't want to be a litigator like on, television. That wasn't what I wanted to be. And estate planning and just a probate practice in general, it's very client-based. You're not working with a corporation. You're not working with transactional business that you never even know the person that you're dealing with. So it's very one-on-one. And I'd say that that's probably what I like about it the best.
Okay. Man, that's fantastic. So how did you get to your firm that you're at now?
After I left the state work, the Title III program, I met Sydney Summey, who was the probate guru here in Alabama. And he was a solo practitioner at that time. And he asked me to come and be an associate with him. He's about a generation older than me, so it was just a good fit. He was looking for somebody to kind of carry on and take over. So we were together for about 10 years. And then we took our whole office. So the two of us, we became partners. And the two of us and our staff, then we merged with a firm downtown, a larger, more corporate firm. And I was there for 12 years. And after COVID, where I had been at home working for 1 year, I decided I didn't want to go back to the corporation, to the corporate world. And I started my own practice here in January of 21. I have one partner here at Parker Hennecy. And I've decided this is the best way to practice.
You like this the best?
It is.
Okay.
Now, it was a good, it has to be the right time and place. And the end of COVID, I had a book of business that I knew would come with me and, my age, and it was the right time that I was able to kind of just take a step forward and go out on my own. And it really has been, I didn't even know it could be this good.
Right. So, this way you can do what you want to do. And
exactly.
have the kind of clients you want to have.
Yeah, I still have a son in school, so that's hours are important, and just being in control. I'm pretty bossy anyway, so.
Well, tell me, about your ideal client,
So my ideal client would be one who like a couple that comes in that wants an estate plan,
Okay.
and maybe they're middle age, maybe, and they have some minor children, and then they also have aging parents. So they're kind of sandwiched in, and you've got lots of opportunities there to put together a plan that's going to work for all of those different components of that family. So you're going to work with passing the wealth of the parents, and also protecting the wealth for the minor children, setting up trusts that would take care of that, and also integrating a plan with the aging parents for long-term care. So it's sort of an ideal client is sort of where you have all of the opportunities to set up a plan for everybody.
Right. So you can help multiple generations.
Exactly.
Man, that's outstanding. Outstanding. What are some of the basic kind of common things that are important to you that you have to help your clients with that are also important to them?
So I write wills every week, and trusts, powers of attorney, and advanced directives. I bet I have filled out 1,000 advanced directives with clients over the years. And those things are important to me because they're really vital. They're the documents that if you don't, you might never need them. But if you do not have them, then and you need them, then you're in trouble. Then you're in court, and there's litigation, and there's expense. And also an ideal client lately, I'd say in the last few years, I have really had a lot of energy about elder abuse. That's not necessarily estate planning, but just the elder exploitation and elder abuse, and the new criminal act that's been put in place. I'm very, very focused on that also.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about that, Karen.
Well, unfortunately, it's prevalent. And it's interesting because it cuts across all kinds of socioeconomic levels. I mean, it's not just poor people who can't afford good care. It also can be wealthy people that have a caregiver or a family member that come in, and before you know it, they've taken or absconded with a whole lot of money, or it could be a physical neglect of an elderly person, and they're getting that Social Security check every single month, and nobody's asking any questions. Nobody's looking over their shoulder. There's no court supervision. And there's a lot of other examples of horrible kinds of abuse, but financial, emotional, and physical neglect, all three of which the new criminal act actually imposes criminal penalties for that. They're felonies and misdemeanors depending on the intensity of the crime.
Okay.
So,
well, that's very good. When it comes to your practice, I've talked to a lot of people. They have a lot of misconceptions when it comes to estate planning. Tell me about some of the misconceptions that people have about what you do.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that it's going to be extremely expensive, cost prohibitive, and it's going to take a very long time. I think the other thing that really, for younger couples that have younger children, I find that the main thing that keeps them away from actually sitting down and making that will, coming to my office or anybody's office to actually get that document done, which is extremely important when you have young children, is they cannot either agree or decide on who's going to be the guardian for that young child if they're both gone. That is the number one reason that they put that off, and they'll just think, okay, well, we'll do it next month, or we'll think about it next year, or I don't have anybody that I want to name, or or the two spouses can't agree on the same person, sometimes. So that, I think, is not necessarily a misconception, but I do think it's definitely a barrier to
hindrance, because they can't agree. They just keep putting it off and putting it off. And putting
they
it off.
do.
Do you know of an example of, something that happened like that, with the estate planning where something went wrong?
I don't know of an example of that specifically where they didn't do a will and then they both were gone and the younger children weren't provided for. But just a situation that goes wrong, I would say that's sort of ubiquitous. And again, surprisingly enough, cuts across all socioeconomic levels. It's all different people, all different walks of life. You see the same patterns emerge where if husband and wife are both entering into a second marriage together and they're both bringing adult children from previous marriages, if they do not sit down and do some very serious and thoughtful planning, then it's absolutely a disaster when that first spouse passes, because those children all the way across from both parents are never going to be on the same page. And then having the wealth of the two parents divided in such a way that is fair and what the parents would have wanted, it's never gonna run smoothly without some really thoughtful planning ahead of time in that situation. That's where I can see it really going wrong. Oftentimes leads to litigation. Kids are battling it out in court.
Right. Well, that's what a lot of people think. Yeah, they have that misconception when it comes to estate planning is just a bunch of rich kids fighting over money. Yeah.
Well, there is that, but there's a lot more. So,
right. Well, tell me an example of, when everything went right, where you were helped somebody and everything went well.
So I would use that same example and say the second marriage, the husband and wife came in and we either did a prenuptial agreement or we just set up an estate plan that was sort of airtight, where the husband's wealth can pass to whom he wants it to, but still take care of the spouse if he goes first and vice versa. And with some careful planning, it's an easy thing to solve. I mean, there are good solutions to that. So, I think that's an example of it going right.
That's good. I see that too with a lot of people when there's a new spouse and one spouse is concerned about the old spouse, but
when one of them goes, then
right.
that's when it really,
if they have everything set up correctly, then those things are taken care of and addressed. Well, what are some of the challenges you face in your practice?
So I think that other than just the logistics of scheduling and keeping everything kind of up in the air, I think a more personal challenge is that maybe we've set up a estate plan and the client comes back to me after their partner dies, and we are walking through that process of administering the estate. So I'm dealing oftentimes on a regular basis with someone who is in the absolute grips of grieving. And I have to sort of step back sometimes, because I can get so involved in wanting to care for them and that I'm not as professional as I should be, at least in my emotional being, not so much in my actual what I'm doing with the client. But yeah, I think that's a challenge for me, is to not sort of take on the emotion of these clients when it can be very intense.
Right. Well, I understand that can be difficult. These are your clients. They've known you for years, and they're not just clients, they're friends. You have a relationship with them and you want to help them.
And I have learned over the years of some good things to do when someone's in that type of grief, but I'm still by no means an expert on how to help, what to say, what is helpful. I tend to just tell them, this legal part of what's happening in your life right now, I'm going to take care of it. So take this off your plate. Just you go and you take care of yourself and take care of your family. I'll handle this legal stuff for you.
Right.
Other than that, I haven't figured out any other way to really be that helpful.
I understand. Well, I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, but what do you enjoy about your practice? What do you like best about what you do? I know you said your schedule is important to you. Is there anything else that?
Well, I'm quite good at this. I feel like my personality is well suited for this. And so, there's something enjoyable, not every day, certainly, like anybody, but that I'm doing something that I'm actually good at.
Right.
And, I'm meeting interesting people. Some of the people I don't like, most of them I do. But 2 days are not usually ever the same. So
Right. Well,
I really enjoy that.
Well, tell everybody out there where they can find you and how to get in contact with you.
Okay, so the best way to get in touch with me is my email, and that is Karen@parkerhennessy.com. My direct phone line is 205-313-2454. And of course, you can go to our website, which is parkerhennessy.com.
Well, thanks so much, Karen. Thanks for being on today.
It's great to see you. Thank you so much for asking me.
You've been listening to the Legacy Leaders Podcast with Katie Beth Hand and Stan Miller. For more information on them and the show, please visit pinnaclelegacylaw.com. If you like what you've learned today, do share the program with your friends and subscribe wherever podcasts are found.